Now I'd like to share with you a passage from Nine Faces of Christ. And this particular passage is the young Yeshua reminiscing and speaking about his mother, Mary. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the young master's words in regards to his divine mother. Years later, I was to realize that my pretty mother was politically minded. And since she could not debate in the square or at the temple, which were the strongholds of men, she turned the village well into a debating place. There, in her woman's realm, she took on and defeated many wise men and spread her own political thinking throughout the village, and finally throughout the central part of Galilee. Mother had been raised in a family of high priests, and from her infancy had heard the facts of political and social changes and the personalities and causes behind them. In her beautiful head, she had a mind as keen and as retentive as any man, even my father. And in her small body, she had a heart that would have fitted any lion of Judah. Nothing would have pleased her more than to have organized an army to sweep against the injustice which she called Roman tyranny and tax. Standing in her tidy robe, small and fair, she seemed an easy match for any man. As her fame spread, important men came to meet her challenge at the well and went away convinced. Sometimes she made enemies, men who tried to silence her by pressure from the authorities because they thought she was too outspoken in her opinion. But she would never back down, and once defied an overly officious centurion. My mother's political interest came out of her family and also out of the time. Many times I heard her use history to prove her point and say such things as, my grandfather was 20 when Pompey came as the pretended peacemaker between the Maccabean line, but he turned conqueror and made our land a vassal of Rome, destroying the religious and the political liberties the Jews fought and died for under Matthias Maccabee. The Roman power overthrew the Jewish national independence 63 years before I, Yeshua, was born. 37 years before I was born, when mother was yet 20 years in the future of birth, the unspeakably cruel Herod, later called the First and the Great, was made king of Judea by the Roman Senate. 3 years later, and 17 years before my mother's birth, Herod had conquered Galilee, and after a long siege, had recaptured the sacred city of Jerusalem. One of my mother's adversaries shouted in his wrath, Herod the Great was a zealous builder. He built amphitheaters and the royal palace, forts, castles, and magnificent cities. He built Caesarea in Samaria from sand dunes of the sea. He even rebuilt the citadel of the temple. He was a builder indeed, said my mother. He built licentious passion for 10 wives, and into his flesh he built the loathsome disease of which he died. In his last days, he built a hell upon earth by slaying Antipater, Alexander, and Aristobulus. And then, not satisfied with killing these sons, he also ordered the murder of his wife, Marianne. He ordered a new bath for himself at Kelero, east of the Jordan. But even the healing waters could not save him. The only things he did not destroy in his life were the palm trees of Jericho, under which he retired and died on April 5, 750. That was 3 years ago. You remember the dates too well. My dear, beautiful mother pulled herself up to her tiny height and placed her hand upon my head. I should remember, for your great builder has built himself an eternal condemnation by ordering the destruction of all male children born in Bethlehem in the year of Yeshua's birth. We had to take the child to Egypt for 7 months and dared not return until that great Roman died. That was a passage from 9 Faces of Christ, Quest for the True Initiate by Eugene E. Whitworth. And that was a passage young Yeshua related in regards to Divine Mother, his Mother Mary. But as you can see, the Divine Feminine was quite articulate in her condemnation of the powers of this world. She was quite articulate in the expression of her disdain for the Satan, Yahweh of this world.
Namaste, namaskaram.